Hello, everyone. Dr. Kaiser here. Welcome. Today we're going to talk about concussion and eye movements. Specifically, in this case, we're going to talk about gaze. And gaze is a term for just holding your eyes still on a target while you're trying to hold your eyes still. Amazingly enough, you wouldn't believe it, but this is a huge problem with a lot of people that have concussions. So I have this video loaded up here of a real person and a real test. And we're going to talk about what we see in these tests, and hopefully that can give you some insight into maybe what's going on with how you're feeling, with how to approach your treatment progress, and just give you a direction to go that is going to be very, very meaningful if you're suffering with a concussion. So let's get right into it. Eye movements are just super, super important because when we deal with things like concussion or other types of functional brain injuries, the hardware itself is usually pretty good. You can't see it on an MRI. You can't see a big old lesion on a CT. But what you can see are errors in the way things work. And we can use those errors to tell us exactly which parts of the brain are not working the way we need them to. So to say it real simply, eye movements are the only way that we have to measure function of the whole brain. So they're crazy, crazy, crazy important. All right. So at the end of the day, you're going to look at this and you go, well, maybe everybody's are a little bit like this. They're not. Healthy people have healthy eye movements. Okay. Very, very important. So let's look at this case. This person here suffered a head injury 5 years ago and was still having severe headaches, dizziness, trouble thinking, big time fatigue, was having to nap a couple times during the day, irritability, just, super, super, super nice person that all of a sudden was grumpy, kind of short and snapping with their family, just, not the way they usually are. And of course their vision was blurry. So just to give you a little orientation here, you can see those two eyes up on the screen. This test is with video oculography, but you don't need that to be able to see these things. It's just very helpful for communicating it, for being able to measure it, and then being able to measure if the thing that you are doing as a treatment is making a meaningful difference, right? So the whole point is we want to get the brain to be able to function better so that it can work better and ultimately you can feel better, right? So on this graph, what you're going to see is you're going to see two quick videos here. The ones I'm going to show you in the beginning, you're going to see the eyes move over to the left and they're going to try to hold a target there. And what that means is that person has these goggles on and there are infrared cameras that are looking at their eyes, and those cameras are capturing their eye looking at a target that is projected onto a TV screen. So what you're going to see is just a simple dot over to the left, and of course we should all be able to just keep our eyes looking at a dot, no problem. Okay, so this is 15 degrees over, no big deal. But what you're going to see is you're going to see some movement in the eye. You're going to see the way it oscillates. So it's important to note, A, that it is oscillating. We want to know how fast it's going. We want to know how big the movements are. We want to know how often they are, what direction, what the head's doing. So we're taking all that into account. But from your perspective, all you got to do is just watch these eyes and tell me if they're still or not. And then we're going to compare them from the left side to the right side. So you ready? Here we go. You can see those eyes are kind of shaking back and forth, left and right, while they're trying to look to the left. Now let's look at it going to the right. Boom, 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 boom. A whole bunch of them here going to the right. And those little just flickers back and forth, left and right. But those things will just drive you bonkers. Very simply, if your eyes can't be still, the rest of your brain can't be still. It's trying to take in this input through a moving picture, and it's just maddening. So we know these are associated with all sorts of symptoms. So let's go ahead. So we're going to look at another one that happened 3 days later. And what we're looking for in this is we're looking to see if the treatment aspects that we did were meaningful for that person. In other words, were we able to change or improve the function of the brain so that these eyes could do their job. And if they can do their job, then we know that that portion of the brain is actually healing and is going to have reaching effects into other areas that it's in charge of in the brain. So let's watch the post-treatment. And for treatment, what we did, we used some aspects of whole body rotation. So putting them in I have a large mechanical chair that allows us to rotate and stimulate their inner ear in a way that helps to keep your eyes still. We did some things helping him with the way that his head and neck turn while he's trying to do different eye movements. We did some things using some shoulder activity as well, and as well as just some movements of his eyes in different head positions. So all those things in tandem are all different ways that we stimulate this portion of the brain. So let's check out the next one here. Let's zoom that back down. Check this out. After treatment. So you can see here to the left, that line is almost still. And there's almost no movement in his eyes. And then we go to the right, he still has a little flicker of movement here, but not nearly what we were dealing with just a couple days prior, right? So way more still. And this is super important. So we know that those areas of the brain are able to work better by doing these simple rehab strategies. And if they can work better, then the brain can work better. And we don't have the symptoms, and that's exactly what we saw in this case. So sometimes we're very fortunate and those symptoms go away immediately as soon as we see these things. Sometimes the brain continues to heal. Kind of like if you did a workout and you go to work out again the next day, you might not be as strong, but a week later or a month later doing the same workout, we see that you start to get stronger. So we see both are the case, and in this case we got just a blessing because he felt better immediately. His headache went away, wasn't dizzy, wasn't stumbling, falling into the road when he was walking down the sidewalk anymore. He's able to think, able to get out and do some work. So just super magical stuff. So I show you this not to impress you with all the cool things that can happen, but to show you how you can use simple technology, just watching what the eyes are doing, as a window to tell you where in the brain things aren't working well so that we know where to aim our treatments. And if we know where to aim them, then we have a much better probability of solving the problem. So whatever the thing is that you are doing to help you out to try to get better, making sure that everything is moving the way it should is an amazing place to start. So we have to start by attenuating movement disorders, in other words. And your eyes are just the premier place to go to make sure that everything's functioning well, because they are the top of the food chain. If your eyes aren't moving well, then there's a very good likelihood that other things aren't as well. And that puts a huge tax on your brain and causes fatigue, causes different utilization of resources. You just have more energy going into simple things. If you're wasting all your energy trying to get simple tasks right, it's very difficult then to do complex tasks like reasoning and thinking and planning and doing all the executive things that we take for granted. So I hope that this video is super helpful for you and it help you to be able to understand a little bit about how we can use some different testing to localize and really hone in on where the problems are in your brain, and that makes it a whole load easier to try to figure out how to train them and help them work better. So stay tuned. We're going to do more videos like this, but hopefully this one has been helpful. So if you have any more questions, we also have another webinar that you can check out on our homepage. There should be a link somewhere on the page that you're watching, and that goes into I actually go through a couple cases and walk through exactly kind of things we do and looking at other tests. So if you like looking at the tests and like trying to understand why these things are valuable, then that is a good choice. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.